Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast presented by PointsBet. Use that promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Happy Thursday. I'm Jay Zawoski with Greg Boyson and Mario Tirabassi. Once again, the hockey gods have smiled upon the podcast.
Give it 24 hours.
Honest to God, man. It's
and
crazy.
We will have something to talk about.
Yes, the big news is the Blackhawks have released her jersey numbers, and Dylan Secura will be wearing number 79.
Yeah.
That's the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. No, of
Put it
course,
in the
there's more
rafters.
to it than that. We've got our broadcast team. At long last, after Eddie Olczyk's departure last month, which seems like 5 years ago, the new broadcast team on TV is Chris Foster's on the play-by-play, and Patrick Sharp and Troy Murray. I will say this, 2 of the handsomest men in hockey broadcasting. Ask my wife. I told my wife and she went, oh.
Yeah, not a bad broadcast to look at. Not at all.
Yeah, Chris Foster is also there.
So Murray and Sharp are splitting games. That is our understanding, right?
From what I'm told, it will be basically a 50-50 split. It might be a little unbalanced one way or the other, but basically 50-50 because they're still waiting to find out like what exactly the national broadcast schedule will be.
Sure.
And that will have an impact on availability and things like that. But I would expect us to be as close to 50-50 as the Hawks can possibly make happen, which to me, part of me was like, I would really like it to be Sharp in the Olczyk chair. And then the few times, whatever it would be where Sharp couldn't do it, Troy would come in off the radio and fill and then Kaylee Chelios goes and takes Troy's spot.
Like a 90-10 split or something like that.
Whatever it would be. But as I'm thinking about this, it might not be terrible to have Vosters establish a solid chemistry with both people on the broadcast, and
Sure.
I think having a split, that's easy enough for the fans, I think, where it's not confusing. Who's it going to be every night, whatever. It's not so like whiplashy as it was last year. And it also gives Vosters the opportunity to get, flight miles with both partners. So I think it's a good thing. I'm happy about it. I think they're probably the 2 best available names you could get. And I know we had sort of speculated about, Patrick Sharp's desire to do an entire season of hockey. Well, he's doing half a season. And I guess we can see after this year what happens. We don't have any, obviously, details on the contracts or anything like that. But look, I think the Hawks, as you wrote about today for allchgo.com, Mario, kind of did the best they could with a situation that they're at least partially to blame for, let's be honest, but
right.
Still a difficult situation that they were not expecting to happen.
Yeah, I think we all would have preferred there to be someone in a position as the color analyst to take up either all 82 games or a majority of them. But with it being Sharp and Murray, I think, fans worrying about, who's going to be on the broadcast tonight, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be the same as when it was play-by-play where, one night it was Chris Foster's, another night John Weideman did it. Another night it was Steven Nelson. And you're just kind of figuring out who are these people? Who am I getting tonight? Is it Pat? Is it, whatever? Mm-hmm. I think, knowing it's either going to be Troy or Patrick Sharp, 2 people that I think the majority of fans will have no issue listening to and taking their word and taking their insight as credible, makes it easier for it to be a 50-50 split. And yeah, like you said, like it's not a bad thing in the sense as Vosters can get some chemistry with both of them. But I think it would have benefited him more and whoever would have been the color analyst to have a whole season of just the two of them being able to build that chemistry, because the chemistry that Pat and Eddie had was one of the biggest charms of the broadcast outside of their actual broadcasting abilities. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. I think this is kind of the most logical way that they can, most logical way that they can kind of clean up their own little spill here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed it's not a guy for the full season, but then again, we haven't had that in a long time anyway, so it's not that different. It's more 50-50, which is a little different. And before it was, Edzo was there for 55, 60 of the games, and we had Steve Conroy lulling us to sleep on some of the broadcasts. Steve Conroy's a great guy, and he's a really good studio analysis. He's doing great work on the NHL Network.
Yeah.
But his booth work was not exciting. Let's just leave it at that. He offered good insight. It was boring.
You could tell too that Foley did not love the Conroy games. There was no chemistry there.
Yeah, they didn't work well off each other, and that's probably what made those broadcasts so less entertaining.
Yeah,
was that Foley wasn't as into it. Like you could
hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a different broadcast completely. Like there wasn't the funny jokes, there wasn't the the inside jokes, the feeding off each other's sayings. But that's what you get when you work together for as many years as those two did.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to take
16
time.
seasons.
Yeah. 16 seasons together. Unless Edzo was fully here for Edzo's first year. I don't remember that timeline.
Because his Olczyk's first year was 06, 07. I want to say I
don't remember Eddie with anybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Like he wasn't with Dan Kelly.
Those couple of seasons Foley wasn't here are a complete blur to me. I'm not gonna lie.
And I don't think Olczyk
wasn't watching a ton of games then.
I don't think he would have been on that broadcast at that point. Like you said, Jay, I don't think Olczyk's ever been with anyone else on the regional network.
So not having the same duo for the full season is nothing new for us. I would have liked that, but something that it's gonna be interesting to see the games, especially here in Chicago, that Sharp isn't on. Maybe it's Sharp on the home games and Troy on the road games. Maybe that's how it's split up. Maybe Sharp doesn't want to travel, so but whatever it is, games that Sharp isn't in the booth, it'd be interesting if he's around to maybe kind of soak in Troy Murray and learn from Troy Murray, because we talk about how great Eddie Olczyk is. Troy Murray, not far behind.
No, he's not.
Damn good analyst. To me, it was right up there as far as hockey knowledge, and doesn't get enough credit as he does because he's on the radio side. So I'm happy for him to get that TV exposure, so people that maybe never listen to the radio broadcast can get an idea of how great he is. You're not going to get much of a drop off as far as hockey knowledge when it goes from Olczyk to Murray, but there's a lot to be said that Sharp spends a season also watching how Troy Murray does it and gets better that way. Because there's no doubt that Patrick Sharp wants to be really good at it and will put the work into it. Just if you compare his first couple times he was doing the studio stuff, he was like a deer in headlights and just looked uncomfortable. But a year after that, he was really good doing the stuff for NBC. So I expect a little bit of the same. Those first couple games, maybe a little, but he'll grow into it. He'll get more comfortable, and it's going to be fine. It's not Eddie Olczyk and Pat Foley. We need to just remember that when the season starts. It's Chris Foster's with either Troy Murray and Patrick Sharp, and they are not going to be Pat Foley and Ed Olczyk. Don't expect them to be Pat Foley and Ed Olczyk. Just let them be themselves and let them grow into the role. And I think all three of them together will do a heck of a job.
You have to give them like a blank slate to start. You can't say,
you can't compare them to the last guys.
Yeah, are they filling in Pat and Eddie? Almost no one in the world would be able to do that.
No, they're a legendary team for a reason. Pat Foley's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. Like there's a reason he can sit down at Wrigley Field and do a game pretty much seamlessly without blinking an eye. All right, the guy's just a pro. Right. One thing I want to make sure we don't go any longer without addressing too is this is wonderful news for Troy Murray. that he's able to go back to
yes,
it has not been highly publicized, his cancer journey. Troy was in a freaking battle. Like it was not good. Like it was not like some like, oh, we're gonna just like stage 1, whatever. It was a very serious situation. He was in a lot of pain. It was a very hard thing for him to deal with. So to see him be an option this season is fantastic.
Yeah.
And people I've talked to about this, since the news broke, are saying it's amazing. It's so great that Troy gets to be part of this. Everyone is so happy for him. And look, like you don't know, anytime you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis, you never know what's going to happen. And like he did his entire hockey career, Troy Murray battled his ass off and is now in position to do this in a full-time basis. If he's not on TV, he's going to be on radio. And that is huge news. And I'm so happy for Troy. I'm friendly with Troy for my years producing the Hawks games on the radio. And him and I spoke a couple times during him and my mom were going through cancer treatment whatever, at the same time. And simultaneously, whatever, what I'm saying?
Simultaneously.
So now and again, I would reach out to him and just check because, something would spark your mind. And it was tough. He was going through a real hard time. And if you'd asked me then, is Troy Murray going to be on the full-time broadcast next season? Would I say yes? No, not based on those conversations. So happy that Troy is healthy enough and bouncing back and is ready to take on another full season, be it on TV or radio. It's fantastic. Love that guy. He was one of my, Jeremy Roenick is the guy that drew me into hockey. But then as you start to learn the game and learn the players, Troy Murray was like the first guy that I started paying attention to and loving his game. And he became one of my favorite players really early on. And to be able to know him and be friendly with him is awesome. And now this next step for him is fantastic. So he's going to do great. And Hawks fans that don't remember him being on the simulcast before are going to be in for a treat because Troy is awesome. He's really good at the job.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's no wonder that the radio broadcast is considered one of the best local broadcasts in the entire league for the radio calls. So it's great that Troy's going to be involved. Absolutely fantastic that it is a signal that his health has improved to a point where he's able to not only be back on the radio in a regular basis, but also to be able to do both radio and TV to split the year. So it's that is tremendous news. I know that the few times that we've been able to see Troy around the facilities last season and over the summer, I think just from seeing him around and seeing him interact with people, it looks like even in that time frame, he's looking better. He's looking more healthy and more ready to go to jump back in. So it's it's just absolutely fantastic news. And it'll be interesting to see too, because this setup now, it's not only going to be a split with the television broadcast, but now it splits the radio broadcast up a little bit. So when Troy's doing TV, it appears that Kaylee Chelios looks like she'll be the
that will be the
fill-in.
From what I'm told, that will be the standard procedure. When Troy's on TV, Kaylee moves to radio. That is, of course, there will be availability things and whatever, but that will be the standard plan of operation. Mm-hmm. Troy goes to TV, Kaylee goes to radio.
Okay,
and that's a great opportunity for Kaylee to sit there and progress her career in the booth with John Weideman, one of the best color play-by-play guys in all of hockey. That's a huge opportunity for her, and I'm happy she's getting that opportunity. And just to echo what we were saying about Troy Murray, it's going to be amazing to see him at the rink all year long and be able to say hello, hopefully build a relationship there. I don't know. I could probably speak for you guys too, but I don't know who I know in my world. It's my better half who's more excited about the Patrick Sharp bringing on. She's like, wait a minute, you're going to be able to see Patrick Sharp every day and talk to him. Like, if you get him in the studio for a show, I have to come down that day. I'm like, yeah, no, that we're keeping you far away from that.
Yeah, I gotta say, Greg, Hope and Stacy just have tremendous taste in men.
Yeah, they dream about great looking hockey players and end up with average looking hockey writers.
That's right.
You know,
Exactly.
you gotta aim.
Thanks
aim
for
the
lowering your
stars.
standards, ladies.
Aim for the stars. You'll or aim for the moon. You'll land amongst the stars.
There you go. Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Fell in love with Patrick Sharp, and all I got was this lousy Greg.
Well, you and Patrick have a lot in common. You're both men,
and
both have hair.
Yes,
and so much more. Yeah, just so much
we
more.
Both
so many other things.
Oxygen.
I don't think that Patrick has quite the same Roosevelt's collection though as you, and I think you top him in that regard.
Not that we know of.
Take that, Sharpie.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Lawrence.
But his hair though. Whew.
Yeah, it's good.
Good hair.
It's not bad.
Well, whatever. I sort of when mentioning, by the way, when we sort of sideswiped Steve Conroy a little bit, he was a little bit monotone in the booth, and I think that will be a challenge for Sharpie early on. Is he is good. He's a good analyst, obviously, but I do think the hardest thing for a broadcaster to find, and I'm pointing the thumb at myself, it's something I struggle with all the time, is to find that energy in your voice sometimes, right? You're just talking and you're not always thinking about the energy you're expressing while you're talking. I think that'll be one of the learning curves for Patrick. So it might sound a little bit slower, or I hate to use the word boring, but I think people might, if they're just sort of half listening, it might sound that way. So I think that if there's one thing I'm coaching Patrick Sharp, not that I'm going to, but if that someone is, it's kind of like, make sure you're putting that energy out there. Do your best to have, oomph in what you're delivering and confidence and poise and all those sort of things. It's very hard to coach, but it'll come with time. The more time he puts in, the better he'll get at it.
If there's anyone that can pull energy out of somebody, it's Chris Foster. So I think
this is true.
Sharp will be able to adapt pretty quickly in that kind of setting.
Yeah, if you can't get your engine going sitting next to Chris Foster's for 3 hours, something is wrong, because that guy is a ball of energy and just constantly upbeat and excited about what he's doing. So that's something.
Same thing for Kaylee and John Weideman. Like, John Weideman is the nicest guy in the world, and he is going to welcome Kaylee with open arms and show her the ropes. And there's no ego there with John. Like Pat. Yeah, there's a little bit of ego with Pat. Like, Pat's got a presence. He's a little bit intimidating to be around, right?
He knows he's Pat Foley.
Yeah, and John is a wonderful broadcaster, but he is the sweetest guy in the world and will do everything he can to make Kaylee succeed and thrive. And I've been really last year was her first year on the broadcast, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought she was really good.
She had done stuff with
her analysis
Tampa.
Right.
Yeah. She had done stuff with Tampa before.
Right. Tampa has not won a Stanley Cup without Kaylee as part of the crew. They have not won one since she left. So
she's got to bring that energy to Chicago now. Well, what's interesting? Yeah, it might take some time, but we'll see. But what's interesting with the radio call, and I read through Scott Powers' piece today after the announcement of Sharp and Murray in the broadcast, and it jumped out to me that in talking with Jamie Faulkner about bringing in Troy and Patrick as the split duo for TV, she said something in there that caught me off guard a little bit, and that was that she said you can expect John Weideman to call almost all of the radio of the games next year on the radio. And that was interesting to me because we had heard a little bit about, John Weideman having maybe a different role or a different, having some different responsibilities with the Blackhawks as they've kind of gone through this little, broadcast team transformation, but it never really came to fruition that his radio calls and being the play-by-play voice were ever really going to be, changing all that much. So it was interesting to me to see that, John may not do all the radio games, because I was expecting that to be the case.
Well, he didn't do all of them last year either. There were a few that he didn't do the West Coast road trip.
Yeah.
There were a few. So maybe it's just he wants to lighten up his travel schedule. You know, he's not
Well, and they also were cycling in people in case
Right.
he was the new TV play-by-play person.
So it might be a
yeah.
choice of just like he's going to skip a couple of those winter road trips and say, you know what, I've put in enough mileage. But we'll see how that goes.
Could be.
But yeah, to get him on as many times as possible. One of the best in the business. As you said, Jay, like super sweet guy. I've had the privilege of being able to talk to him, at games and at practice. You know, it was one night we were talking to him outside the broadcast booth, and we were both kind of like, "Don't you have a game to go to, John?" like we could chat later. We could chat later. I think they need you behind the mic.
It sounded like a Bill Cosby impression. Don't you have a game to call with the Puddin' Pops?
Gotta talk about the pucks and the goals and the penalties.
Yeah, that's where the similarities end. So
yes, hopefully, yes. Yeah. This is a weird day because I got on the CHGO Chicago Sports Podcast, which re-debuted today in a new format, which was kind of cool seeing.
I like the new format.
Kevin and Luke and Casey all in different spots of the studio. Like it was kind of a fun little thing, but I got them to actually use a Mussolini reference on air, and now we've done Bill Cosby impressions. So this has been a banner day for CHGO.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I threw that Mussolini comment up there. I thought, we need to hear a Mussolini comment. I thought that was
you're like in case you didn't watch Hawks rally.
Let's get a little context in there. So, I'm not. I don't want to be made out to be a World War II fascist dictator sympathizer. That's Bobby Hull's job. But they were talking about the Cubs doing the idiotic thing of honoring Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols before today's Cubs-Cardinals game, which is just the stupidest thing.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna like mention because it's their last games most likely ever at Wrigley Field.
What are they gonna do?
Thanks for kicking our ass for the last 20 years. Like it's so stupid.
They gave him
the dumbest thing I ever heard. And I said the Cubs honoring those two guys would be the same as if America made Mussolini's birthday a national holiday. Like it makes zero sense. You're honoring the enemy. Like it'd be like the Blackhawks holding,
Steve Yzerman night,
a Rafi Torres night. Like it just makes no sense.
Like I get the stupid Derek Jeter farewell tour that we all endured a few seasons ago, but
F that too.
Pujols and
overrated
Yadi?
Pudwack.
Confirmed.
Screw those guys.
At least you got a gift bag with Jeter.
I just I love Cody from CHGO Cubs, and the Cubs tweeted the photo of Hayward and Rossi giving Pujols and Molina the signs, and his tweet was just "suck my ass." I love Cody.
Cody, there's a lot of words that you could use to describe Cody, and some people may not jive with him all the time, but there's one thing that I will never deny that kid is that he is passionate about his Cubbies, and I love him for it.
Yes, I see. For me, I was trying to spin it to him earlier that this is just an opportunity the Cubs are giving the fans to boo the shit out of those two guys.
There he is.
There's Cody going to double birds. Beautiful.
Perfect.
I did not hear it when that happened. Was there booing? There had to be booing.
Oh, there had to be booing.
I didn't hear it either. But
yeah. All right. Well,
there had to be booing.
Drive by and boo him anyway, just to be safe.
Yeah, right.
Probably. I'm guessing the TV broadcast, the radio broadcast had the field level mics turned off for that because I'm sure there were
turn those down.
Creative 4-letter words flying around, and few of them would have been supplied by me if I was there.
Here's the thing: does all longevity need to be honored in sports? This sounds like a next summer topic. Like you were good for a long time, so now every ballpark you played in now has to honor you and give you something.
No,
well, it's like
crap.
Is Patrick Marleau a Hall of Fame hockey player? Because he played the most games, but he didn't really, was he ever a dominant top 5 in the league player for a long enough time? I don't know.
Really good for a long time. He was among the best for a long time.
Yeah.
It's tough. I think he's probably in.
He's a Hall of Famer in my book. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, when you look at some of the names that are in the Hockey Hall of Fame for lesser achievements, so
Right.
Yeah, even just on the games alone, to me, that makes you a Hall of Famer to play this sport
It's true.
as long as he did, as well as he did. I mean, sure, those last 3 or 4 seasons, 5 seasons weren't great, but for 8 to 10 years, him and Joe Thornton were as good as it got in the Western Conference. So to play as long as he did,
Until they had to play the Blackhawks.
Right. Well, hey,
Buzzsaw.
you can say that. You can say that about all of those California teams at one point or another. So. Yeah, I would think Marlowe is a Hall of Famer. That's tough to do, but you're right. The longevity thing, like, especially when it's your enemy, no.
Well, speaking of longevity,
the Cardinals would never do that for a Cubs player. Never in a million years. Are the Bears going to honor Aaron Rodgers at Soldier Field this year? They effing better not.
Rodgers might make them since he apparently owns them.
Right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of longevity, there's another little bit of news we have to get to, but first we're going to tell you about our friends at Mario's bummed out.
There's no news. There's no news. It didn't happen. It's not true.
Keep telling it's not your fault. It's not your fault. PointsBet Sportsbook is counting down the days until football season with a new offer every day until the season kicks off. So from now until September 8th, PointsBet Power Hour will unlock a new daily offer from noon to 1 p.m. Central. Sign up for PointsBet now using the code CHGO to also get risk-free bets up to $2,000. Don't miss out on your chance to get daily access to free bets, boosted odds, and so much more now through September 8th. But that's not it. If you make a $51 or more first-time deposit, you're going to receive a free CHGO membership that unlocks all of our great web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO Locker. Download the PointsBet app today and use code CHGO to take advantage of this limited time offer. Don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services. And our 25% off sale at the CHGO Locker is still going on. So jump on that deal. I think it ends on Saturday. So make sure if you've been waiting to jump on that deal, do it now. Save 25% at chgolocker.com.
And we are also brought to you by our friends at Athletic Greens. What is Athletic Greens and their AG1 formula, you may ask? I'm glad you did, because I'll tell you. It is a formula designed to improve your gut health, optimize your immune system, and give you more natural energy. In just one scoop of AG1, you absorb 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. And if you eat if you have different dietary restrictions, whether it's gluten-free or dairy-free or whatever it might be, or if you follow different diets on your own, choosing like keto or paleo or vegan, with AG1, you're able to incorporate those into those diets. No problem whatsoever. It's a small once-a-day habit with big benefits. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is go to athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
All right, we got to get into it. Mario, I hope you've steeled yourself. Phil Kessel. Greg, I hope you steeled yourself. Is a Golden Knight. It's a double shot in the nads for you guys.
Reason number 9 million to hate the Golden Knights. Seriously,
I love your disdain for the Knights, man. It's one of my favorite things.
They're just so freaking annoying. Everything about them is annoying.
Yeah.
$1.5 million for a year.
And that's that to me, more than going to Vegas, is the kick in the nads. It's because it was 1 year at $1.5 million. Like, Blackhawks don't have $1.5 million to just, invest in a wheelbarrow full of hot dogs and bring it over to Phil and say, "Hey, is this not enticing to you?"
Well, see, it's a moneymaker because aren't if I remember correctly, the Wirtzes get the concession revenue, while the Reinsdorfs get the parking revenue. I think I have that right. So you bring in Phil, pre and post game dogs. He's paying for himself by the end of the year.
Exactly.
I mean,
even with the 5% player discount that they get.
What though, he is in the land of free buffets or $5 buffets.
Yeah, but I've had a hot dog in Las Vegas before. It's nothing compared to Chicago.
Not a good idea. Just sitting out there in that roller for like 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah, nothing compared to what you can get in this city. So
if there's a guy though that is going to find a world-class hot dog in the city of Las Vegas, it will be Phil Kessel.
He'll sniff one out for sure.
He has the means.
There's the guy on the old Simpsons gag where the hot dog vendor just follows Homer around. He's putting my kids through college. That guy's got to find Phil Kessel and just walk around Vegas, just like not too close, but just
there's our
enough. Yeah,
there's our money making scheme. Let's open like a Gene and Jude's on the Strip, just a little stand right there.
Just a Vienna beef stand
cart, and
they've got one outside of Layla's Honky Tonk in Nashville. They've got a Vienna beef stand for.
There's got to be a hot dog cart out in front of the New York, don't you think?
You'd imagine so.
I mean, if not, then they are failing at everything.
Look, when I was in college, there was a guy.
There's a Nathan's in there. I just remember that there is a Nathan's in New York.
There you go.
Well, yeah, there you go. Coney dogs.
Yeah, I'm sure Phil has his own permanent booth already reserved.
There was a guy when I was in college around midnight would just take a heater, like one of those hot cold bags, just a heat bag, prop it down. He had a lawn chair. $1 you can get a pre-made hot dog that was sitting in a heat bag, and at 2 a.m. leaving the bar in Whitewater, a $1 hot dog sounded like a great idea. So yeah, if anything better than that can happen on the Strip in Vegas, you're gonna make yourself some money.
That sounds like a guy that doesn't need student loan forgiveness because he paid off his tuition by selling $1 hot dogs to a bunch of drunk kids at 2 That's genius.
Pick yourself up from the bootstraps and sell some hot dogs.
Yeah,
that's what my grandpappy did.
Yeah.
So people get mad about people getting help. It's my favorite. Anyway,
well, hey, if you didn't get help, no one else can get help.
Right.
So
right. I had cancer. Why should anyone else have cancer? Everyone else should have to deal with it too.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the old hockey.
Back to our disappointment in Phil Kessel.
Yeah. So
at least 2 or 3 of us are disappointed.
I'm telling you, if they got him, they would. You have to admit, and yes, I know he had a down year last year, but he's power play 1. He's top line. He's playing with Kane and Taves probably for the bulk of the season. He's going to have a bounce back year, and you are. Maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic about this Hawks team, or pessimistic, however you want to look at it.
Maybe.
But getting Phil Kessel now, that does make them dangerously too competitive.
Nah.
I mean,
Coyotes finished with the worst record than the Blackhawks did last year with Phil Kessel playing all 82 games.
He scored 8 goals last season. He plays no defense, so I don't know where the offensive output to defensive negative output flip-flops in the way where the Blackhawks benefit from it.
All right. I hope. Well, it doesn't matter. He's a Golden Knight.
Right. I hope he drags down Vegas.
It does not matter now.
I still have concerns.
All I hope for now is in the 3 games that the Hawks play the Knights, if he scores 8 goals this season, I hope all 8 of them come in those 3 games against the Blackhawks.
It could
help us out, Phil. You broke our hearts. Help us out by beating us 3 times this season.
It could. What I love is that with his Iron Man streak, he could tie it against the Maple Leafs and then break it against the Coyotes. Just poetic.
It would have been better
against the Coyotes.
The Coyotes are Sharks. I thought, didn't Friedman say it was? I heard Elliot Friedman say it was. I thought it was
Coyotes.
Well, maybe it was something else against the Sharks. Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it's gonna.
I thought it was Coyotes.
Yeah, tying a record against the Leafs will be sweet.
Yeah, he'll tie it against the Leafs.
Because he was like one of the first, like, well, you can't win with him. Well, you can't win with Nylander. You can't win with Mitch Marner. You can't win. Soon it will be you can't win with Austin Matthews. And no, it's not them. It's you.
Yeah.
If they
Penguins
believe they
would
can't
to disagree with you.
Yeah, they did it twice with him.
Yep. And he should have had the Conn Smythe that second year, damn it. But
he could have
robbed.
He could have.
How much did he? I mean, I should probably know this top of my head as a fat guy and a hockey fan. What did Phil eat out of the cup?
Hot dog.
Well, he had hot dogs on the golf course.
Okay,
I think that was
good.
I think that was round 2 with the cup.
Okay,
He did that.
good for him.
The correct answer to that: anything he wanted to. What did he eat out of the cup? Anything and everything he wanted to.
Yep.
In the comments here, Jay Fish, not to be confused with Jay Fresh, says that his 1000th game will be against the Coyotes.
Ah, there it is.
There
I knew there was something. Yeah. Okay.
There you go. There you
Sweet. Oh,
so,
you know,
yeah, the
I don't know what that accomplishes for the Knights.
It's
put your
body.
finger in the hole that's leaking.
I guess
it's
so.
a name that casual fans in Vegas will recognize and say, "Hey, they're trying to win." And then in the same press conference, he has to say that, "Oh, by the way, our goaltending tandem is Lauren Brassard and Logan Thompson."
Yeah,
Is Leonard is out for the year or is
hip surgery?
For sure, right? Okay,
hip surgery. He's done. And who they had somebody else that was supposed to be the backup and got hurt, right? Or was that Logan Thompson that I'm thinking of?
Thompson was the guy that filled in late last year. He was the guy that started those games down the stretch when Leonard
that's who I was trying to think of.
Hurt. Yeah.
See, I'm gonna go to their cap friendly and see who pops up here.
Yeah, so, that's not a enviable goaltending situation.
No.
But hey,
no more. They replaced Max Pacioretty with Phil Kessel.
Ooh.
And they have
it's a downgrade.
No,
they have Jack Eichel.
The other goalies on their inner system: Isaiah Seville, Yuri Patera, and Michael Hutchinson.
Michael Hutchinson. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So those are the. And
then any relation to Dave Seville of the Chipmunk fame?
I don't know. I think he's a fictional character, but yes.
David Seville's a real guy.
I'm sure there's someone in the
real
world.
To me, damn it.
I'm sure there's someone in the world with that.
He was the guy that created the Chipmunks and was in those original songs. That's a real guy.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Well,
technicality.
I have to believe Greg in his trivia brain.
That's true.
To know that information.
Yes, exactly. All right, we should get to the Patrick Kane story today.
Story.
This is actually a story. This is a little something worth discussing.
Well, it's coming from a real source. Well, real sources are saying real things.
Yeah, it's not.
It's still a whole lot of nothing.
It's not spitballing, turning into a report. It is a report.
Yeah, Elliot Friedman had it on 32 Thoughts today, basically saying, this is not a direct quote, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And it is something the Oilers are looking into and trading for Patrick Kane, that is, if we're not being clear. And that a lot of people think that if this happens at all for anybody, it would be like a 3-team trade that might take up like double, like 2 teams taking on part of Patrick Kane's salary. Now, I think what Friedman didn't clarify, and what I would assume here is if that's the case, this is something that would happen before the season begins. If you're talking trade deadline, you don't need two teams to accommodate that salary, right?
To accommodate the cap hit. His actual dollars is not a lot of money.
But doesn't the cap hit go down as the season goes on too?
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think
prorated, right?
Right.
That's the salary.
So I think the salary is definitely.
Yeah, the salary in actual dollars doesn't. I don't believe that change is prorated. Yeah. But to fit the cap hit, the cap hit is what the retained salary number affects because it's the cap hit that each team has to fit under. Okay. The actual dollars doesn't matter.
Yeah, because they say the Hawks would need half, but then other teams would have to like send a salaried player back to make up the difference in the salary if they need to get under the cap or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So as Friedman said, and Frank Saravalli also mentioned on the Daily Face Off rundown today, with Saravalli, he said what I know hasn't changed in a month, where there are teams that are looking into Patrick Kane, but reiterating it just kind of comes down to what Chicago and what Kane actually want to do. But yeah, I mean there is interest. who wouldn't be interested in
Right.
in trying to make a deal for Patrick Kane work, especially teams that are looking to be contending for a cup, and teams like Edmonton who, even though they have Draisaitl and McDavid and they've made the playoffs a number of years, and they're always, they're in a division that, kind of is you have a little leeway. They got to have success. They got to have success with Stanley Cup runs and Stanley Cup championships. Any Canadian market needs that, but especially one that has two of the arguably top 5 players in the league. You have to have success, and I think, if they're looking for it, Patrick Kane obviously makes them a better team offensively, but if they're breaking the bank for Kane, I don't know. I feel like they have challenges on defense that need addressing. Yeah, you can try and outscore everybody that as much as you want, and having Kane, Draisaitl, and McDavid play together will allow you to outscore a lot of teams. But if you're giving up 4, 5, 6 goals a night, I know they upgraded quote unquote in net, but the defense is a challenge. Another team looking into Patrick Kane, according to Frank Saravalli, is Toronto. Their defense is a challenge. Did they upgrade in net? I don't think so. So you can try and outscore everybody you want, but you got to stop pucks at some point. And so, yeah, Patrick Kane would help you offensively. He's not going to help you defensively. We all know that. So
Kane and Murphy for Matthews. Yeah. Who says no?
Toronto does. Toronto, I think, tells you
right,
no.
right. Yeah, that's probably correct.
Yeah, you're right, Mario. And when you tweeted out what Saravalli said, I retweeted it and said this is the key that we have to remember. It's up to Patrick Kane if and when this deal ever gets made. The Oilers can be as interested as they want to be. The Toronto Maple Leafs can be as interested as they want to be. It doesn't mean jack squat until Patrick Kane says, okay, I want to be traded, and I want to be traded to. So the Oilers can make any offer they want, and until Patrick Kane agrees to it, it doesn't matter.
Well, here's the interesting thing, right? Like, so Kyle Davidson has said over and over and over again that he's not going to go to Taves or Kane and ask them to waive their no movement clause. He is waiting for them to come to him and say, we want to go, or I want to go, whatever it might be. So here's the thing. Are people calling Kyle Davidson and Davidson's just like compiling a list of trade offers? Like, okay, I've got this from the Oilers and we got this one from Toronto. We got these other ones here. And now I'm just going to sit here and wait for Patrick to come and say he wants to leave. You kind of,
I don't buy that.
Like if he gets some sort of like franchise altering offer, not going to Kane and saying, hey, we got this offer for you. Does playing here interest you at all? That is, look, I know you want to give Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves all the respect they've earned, obviously. But if some team comes to you today and says, we're going to give you our next 3 first-round picks and this top prospect and a couple seconds, what? Okay, I got to talk to Patrick now. You know what I mean? Like you can't just sit on it and wait. It would be negligent for Kyle to say, hey, thanks for these offers, and I'll keep note of them. But until Patrick comes and talks to us, we're just not going to move them.
I didn't buy that line when he said it. I don't buy it now. I think that's just lip service. I think obviously he's not going to just say, hey, I'm going to try and trade you, waive your no trade clause. I don't think he's pressuring them. But as you said, if he gets an offer that it's like, I got to make this deal, I'm sure he's going to go and approach them and say, hey, this is what I got on the table. It makes a lot of sense for us. Is this something you'd be interested in doing? Is this a place you want to play? If not, say the word. I'll tell him thanks, but no thanks. Otherwise, let's see what we can do. I don't have any doubts that that's how it will or might go down, because Kyle Davidson has proven more already multiple times. He's aggressive. He doesn't care about what the public reaction to his trades are. He is not loyal to anybody,
not sentimental,
from the previous regime. So there's no way Kyle Davidson doesn't get a phone call from the Oilers and they offer him the world for Patrick Kane. There's no way he doesn't make a call to Patrick Kane and at least see how he feels. I'm not saying he's calling them saying, hey, you guys got to waive your no trade clause before the season. Give me the teams you want to go to. I'm going to make it happen. No, I don't think he's doing that. But when the offer comes in, like if something comes in that blows his mind and gives him exceeds his expectations, you got to have that conversation with the player. Otherwise, you're not doing your job as a general manager. And there's no way that's happening.
And look, I think Hawks fans are, the tearing of the Band-Aid, right? Like, yeah, whenever Patrick Kane gets traded, and same with Jonathan Taves, it's gonna hurt. Like, it's gonna sting. Like, it's gonna be a tough pill to swallow for Hawks fans that have watched these guys resurrect this franchise, win 3 Stanley Cups, yada yada yada. And it's gonna hurt regardless, but it's gonna hurt a lot less when instead of waiting 5 years to be competitive, maybe it's 3 years instead, because you were able to make these deals for these guys and add a bunch of assets and draft picks that get you back to contention sooner. Isn't that ultimately what matters, right? Sentimentality is what has the Hawks in this position they're in now, with Seabrook's ridiculous deal and all those things that happened under he who shall not be named in the last few years of his tenure. Like, you can't hang on too long. And
look,
if you're given some offer that blows your doors off, yeah, you can't just say, like, I'm sorry, we haven't asked Patrick yet, and we already said we wouldn't. No, do your effing job and make the trade. Like, he's got to be active. And I hope you're right, Greg. And I think you are probably correct that it was more of a lip service, sort of a not, letting Patrick save face and have to deal with it all year.
Yeah.
Also, it puts a little bit of the attention on Kane too. Like, hey, what do you think? That could be going on all year, every game. Hey, another loss. Have you given any more thought to leaving the team? He's going to be, both those guys will be facing that question all year long.
It's going to be interesting if the locker rooms are opened again this year. How often those guys are actually at their stalls after a game, because they're just going to get tired of hearing about it. And we talk about actual offers for Kane, like, and Friedman mentioned like maybe a 3-team deal. I just don't know if Edmonton has enough pieces to pull it off. I look at their prospect pool and it's not fantastic. I mean, Dylan Holloway is a nice player.
Everyone talks about Puljujarvi.
Is a nice player. Jesse Puljujarvi is
it's like he's like the first Kirby.
No, if you're he could be the like 5th piece added to the Patrick. It's the same people that every time Capo Caco for Patrick Kane, blow it out your ass. All right, these guys aren't at the same level. They're never going to be at the same level. I'm not interested in your failed draft picks.
Is there a roster player it's not going to be Draisaitl, it's not going to be McDavid, right? But if you look at it, who is actually playing for Edmonton now, when you're looking at it from the context of the Blackhawks, is there a player that you would say, all right, let's talk, right? Like, let's see if we can make this happen. And
you have to throw in
Holloway has to be in that conversation.
Yeah, you have to throw in a top 3 prospect, top 5, top 3
Holloway
prospect, and a first-round pick.
Xavier Bourgault, both of those guys,
right?
And we'll start there. Stuart Skinner, the young goaltender, maybe. But there's not a lot there. And
like Yamamoto?
No.
Doesn't do it. Doesn't do it.
Dude's been playing 3 years with Connor McDavid and hasn't done squat. See ya. Like, not interested. Like, we got to remember, this isn't he who shall not be named making the trade. If it's he who shall not be named, he'd trade Patrick Kane for Jesse Puljujarvi straight up. That's his deal. That's got him written all over. Right. Failed first round pick. Evan Bouchard is mentioned in the comments. Maybe. I don't think they want to give him up.
I don't think they want to give him up.
But
because they don't have too many great defensemen. Yeah.
Because if I'm Ken Holland, who can we just say one of the most overrated general managers in the history of the game?
Sure.
Why are you trying to cripple your future for another goal scorer? You know what's going to prevent, as Mario said earlier, if I'm out there trying to make one more move, it's to get a superstar goalie or a superstar defenseman, not another superstar offensive player. You've got plenty of offense. And you got to get Jack Campbell, not the answer. Upgrade over Mike Smith, sure, but that's a very low bar to jump over. Darnell Nurse, really nice defenseman. Not an elite defenseman.
Yeah.
Evan Bouchard, really nice defenseman, not an elite defenseman. I don't get why I don't think they have enough for a Patrick Kane trade. And even if they did, why are they trying to do that? That's not, I mean, I'm not going to stop them for giving us the world for Patrick. I'm not going to say, Ken, I don't think this is the best for your franchise.
Do this.
But
right.
he should be looking elsewhere. Same with the Maple Leafs. Like, how many years are you going to like not figure it out that you need to be better defensively and in net to win in the playoffs?
Well, here's the other thing too, is like, just like we were sort of underwhelmed with the return for DeBrincat, this could be a situation with Kane too, because teams are going to be looking to add Patrick Kane are contenders, and none of them have the cap space to bring him back. So whoever's trading for Kane, it's going to be a rental, right? And like his next deal is not going to be, he's not Phil Kessel. It's not going to be 1.5 for a year. You're talking at least 8. At least 8.
He'll stay in the 8, 9, maybe. I mean, if he hits the open market, maybe even a team gives him 10 million. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, he's still playing at that type of elite level. So yeah, if it's a contender, it's likely to be. I mean, I don't know if there's a contender that has like a $8-9 million contract coming off the books, but if it's a contender, it's going to be a rental.
Colorado.
Yeah,
Nathan
McKinnon. Sure.
Oh, speaking of that, we were supposed to do our Central Division previews starting today with the Avalanche. We're going to talk to AJ Hayfley tomorrow. Audio only podcast. So we'll start our.
He got the Matt Damon treatment today.
He got bumped.
Apologies.
Yeah, I told him. Yeah, there might, in case news happens, we might have to reschedule. So he was up for it. So look for that audio only podcast tomorrow around noon. That will be out. Here's something I want to address that we keep hearing from people. And Michael says Davidson worked for He Who Shall Not Be Named.
So what?
No,
all the evidence you have is that he hated every pick he ever made because he keeps trading everyone. Like there's a lot of bosses I've worked for that I've disagreed with fundamentally. Yeah. It is not a. I feel like we hear this 2 or 3 times a week. So I want to.
You don't only work for people that you agree with. Like that's not something that always that is always the case.
Everybody loves their boss. What are you talking about?
Maybe he worked for He Who Shall Not Be Named and learned what not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to do the exact opposite he did, and let's see how that works.
How to do things.
Lessons go both ways. You either learn how to do things correctly or learn how to not do them. And that could be. It doesn't matter that he worked for him. He's already proven that he's got more stones than He Who Shall Not Be Named ever showed once in his time here.
I think one of the things with Kane, and I feel like it's more not necessarily a better than 50-50 chance, but I think it's more of a possibility than with Jonathan Toews, is the fact that he says he wants to wait until the season starts to consider a trade, consider leaving Chicago. Where Toews says, I don't know what I want to do. Kane, I feel like is going to give this season a little bit of runway to see what happens, feel out what playing for Luke Richardson is like, feel out what the on ice product of this team is actually going to be. And, we've talked about it before. There is the wanting to be, the all-time Blackhawks leader in points or games or whatever. There is that factor to Kane that he values. And so, again, I don't think it's a better than 50% chance, but I think there is a slight chance that Kane might even say, like, hey, I see enough here that I would want to stick around for this, or I can play with these guys. I can see these guys coming in. I can see where this team is going, and be on board for it with the idea of, if I play in Chicago another 3-4 seasons, maybe there's the chance that things ramp up in that time, and I'm contending again later in my career. But at the very least, he is becoming the all-time leader in points, in games played, whatever. I think that's a real consideration with Kane. I don't think it's the likely thing to happen, but I do think that is a consideration and possibly a reason that Davidson isn't banging on his door every time he has an offer come to him and saying, "Hey, Patrick, what do you think about this?"
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, and the Kane thing, like, you figure everything he's accomplished, right? Hart Trophy, Conn Smythe's, 3 Stanley Cups, on and on and on, all the achievements he's done. What is more meaningful when it's all said and done? Passing Stan Mikita or winning another cup in Edmonton or Toronto or whatever? Yes, of course. The ultimate goal of hockey is to win a Stanley Cup. He's got 3. His Hall of Fame is solidified. His statue outside the United Center is solidified. If he can pass Stan Mikita, that is a record that I never thought would be broken. Yeah. Ever. And it may not, it still may not. As great as Patrick Kane has been, and as healthy as he's been, and as productive as he's been, he still is, almost 300 points away from Stan Mikita. It's like 280 something, right?
Yeah, we did the math
somewhere.
Before,
yeah, maybe 287, something like that. It's within reach if he plays 3 or 4 more years. But I don't know if it's me. If you're just putting me in Patrick Kane's shoes, I would be focused on breaking Mikita's records. That would be the next thing I want to get done.
Yeah.
Yes, give Connor Bedard something to shoot for in his career.
Someone to pass to.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. People are like, "Oh, he'd love to play with Bedard." Well, I mean, you won't know when you won't know until next summer, and at that point, it's too late to consider. I think it's too late to consider an extension. Obviously, too late to consider a trade because the trade deadline will be over and he'll be a free agent. So
the best you could do would be trade his rights, his negotiating rights to somebody, and that's a 4th round pick or something like that, if even that.
I think if he gets traded, it's going to be at the deadline because the biggest reason he's gonna want to get traded in the first place is to win another Stanley Cup. So he's probably gonna wait and see how the season shakes out and see who the best. It's much easier to kind of pick and choose your spot to win a cup in March than it is in August.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of things can happen. So he may just wait till the deadline and say, okay, the Avalanche look like the team that's the best suited to win. Trade me there, or Calgary, or wherever, the Rangers, so we could stop hearing about those rumors already. But I don't see him, if he gets traded, I don't see it happening until the deadline. And then even then, I'm not 100% convinced it's going to happen. I honestly think when it boils down to it, is Kane, those Blackhawks records are more important to him than winning a 4th cup in whatever team.
Yeah. And
the Hawks need something to sell tickets these next couple of seasons. So I'm sure they would be on board with bringing him back beyond this year too. So
yeah,
it's going to be a storyline that is going to just keep coming up time and time again until we get a final decision, yay or nay. But it's August. We like talking about stuff.
Here's before you wrap up, Kane waiting to see what happens. You look at kind of like the Cubs recently, where they've gone young. It's been a tough year without a lot of wins, but you can kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel. They're competitive. They're in games. They've won I think 5 consecutive series since the All-Star break. You see the signs of growth. And I think Patrick Kane could look at the Hawks this year and say, all right, this roster is not very good. I also know that 90% of these guys will not be here when we're ready to win again. But I like Luke Richardson, and I like what this coaching staff is doing and bringing, and I'm seeing the improvement. And some of these young guys do look like they could be part of things. Like Lucas Reichel looks like he's going to be a stud, whatever. I think that's what he's waiting to see, right? Taves, I feel like, has a foot out the door. That just feels different to me.
Mm-hmm.
He seems pissed. It seems like he's been pissed for the better part of a year and a half now. And it's just convince me to not, where Patrick Kane's almost convince me to leave.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I don't know. I mean, this is going to be, these things will be the 2 main topics of the entire season. Kane and Taves.
Taves.
Yep. Get used to it. But it's fascinating.
I'm already tired of
it. I know, but I'm telling you, it's gonna be every day. Every day we're gonna talk.
And if I'm tired of it, I can't imagine what those 2 guys are feeling like.
Seriously.
Because I'm
He's gotta get an obvious shirt with a statement on the trade deadline. That's probably the best way to go.
New.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We got to do the play of the week. But tomorrow, reminder, we've got AJ Hayfley from DNVR, which is our Denver sister station. We're going to preview the Avs. We've got new jersey numbers for the Blackhawks we're going to get to tomorrow as well, including a number that's never been worn in Blackhawks history.
Is it a nice number?
No, almost.
It's
more than nice. More than nice.
No such thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, who's doing it today? Is it Greg?
Yeah, we're going to do the points.
All right.
We're on fire. We got 2 wins
2-0.
in a row.
2-0.
And we're riding that Chicago Bears preseason juggernaut train right to the bank, baby. We took the Bears on the money line last week against the Seahawks, wasn't it? Yes, the Seahawks. And that hit. And now they have their yearly preseason tilt against the mighty Cleveland Browns. Can't wait for that. I will not be watching, but I will be betting on the game. And I was just going to go Bears on the money line again, but as our awesome producer, fearless leader Lawrence pointed out, the under has hit in both of the first 2 preseason games, and the over-under for this game is 42. That seems a lot for 2 teams that can't score a lot of points in a preseason
like a month for the
game.
Bears.
Yeah, I was going to parlay the Bears on the money lane with the under, but it wouldn't allow me to do that. I guess that was unfair. It was like a for sure win, so they didn't let me place that bet. So I'm just going to throw some money on the under at 42. The odds aren't super great. It's minus 115, so you're not going to get a ton of money back. But you know what? Getting some money back is better than getting no money back.
Something's better than nothing.
Good thinking.
That is how you keep money in your account instead of having to reboot it every couple of months. Sometimes you take those small victories and claim them as big victories, and the under. That's what we're going. Under 42, Browns and Bears.
Justin Fields and the offense are expected to play the full first half. Maybe QB1 could throw some darts and actually get us in the end zone a few times, but
they're still going to win 19-18.
Yeah. I know you're not going to be watching, but I will be, because we'll be doing a post-game show. Haven't decided if we're doing a pregame show or not. It's preseason. Regular season, we will definitely do pregame shows every week. This Saturday, might just do a post. We're not sure. We'll feel out, It's like jazz.
All right, good to know.
Sounds like a good day to get that Weber grill going and get some sausages going for their Saturday preseason.
Idea. Kevin Kadek was mentioning wings for Saturday night, but I like the idea of some Polish sausage.
It's 15 degrees cooler outside on the deck than it is in the office.
Right.
Let's get that thing going, babe.
No excuses. Super hot today with the lack of sunshine outside, so we're sort of in a decent area right now, airflow at this point. But
sure.
Yeah, we'll see how that continues. I don't think it's fixed.
All right, download that PointsBet app. Use the promo code CHGO when you do. All that good stuff. We're back tomorrow, audio only. We're recording early in the morning, but we should have it. Should be definitely out by noon, probably earlier, but just I don't want to overpromise. So look for it around noon. And if you want to make sure you know when they're out, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are on wherever you get your podcasts. I forgot to remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button. Tons of viewers today. Know it was a big news day, so we appreciated all the great comments in the chat. There were so many we couldn't get to, but we're putting some aside for some slow week topics coming up here, because there still is some time, 7 weeks until the puck drops on the preseason. So until then, for Greg and Mario, I'm Jay. Thanks to Lawrence for running the show. This has been the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.